All right, so you sent over this BBC article about the collapse of the French government. And wow, talk about a political earthquake.
Yeah,
This is the first time something like this has happened since 1962.
Yeah, since 1962. Crazy.
So let's unpack what this means for France.
Right.
For Europe, and for that matter,
yeah,
for the U.S. president-elect who's scheduled to land in Paris this weekend.
Yeah, that's a whole other wrinkle to this.
Right.
What's truly significant here is that this wasn't just like a minor cabinet reshuffle or anything. This was a full-blown collapse of the government triggered by a no-confidence vote. Mm-hmm. Essentially a parliamentary thumbs down on Prime Minister Michelle Barnier.
Right.
And the vote wasn't even close. 331 to 288 against him.
Wow, that's a pretty resounding message.
Yeah.
You'd think a seasoned politician like Barnier, who successfully navigated the Brexit negotiations, would have a better handle on domestic politics.
Well, that's where it gets interesting. Barnier's expertise in international diplomacy may not have translated well to the complexities of French internal politics.
Okay.
The article highlights how he chose to force his budget through, without a parliamentary vote, using special powers granted under certain circumstances. This was a risky move, and it seems to have backfired spectacularly.
So what drove him to take such a politically risky step?
Well, it seems Barnier miscalculated the level of opposition to his budget.
Okay.
Particularly from the left and far-right parties.
Right.
The budget included a hefty 60 billion euros in deficit reduction measures. And this was seen as a step too far by many.
Yep.
Marine Le Pen, leader of the far-right national rally, called the budget toxic for the French.
Right.
And her sentiment resonated with enough MPs to bring the government down.
The article mentions that the budget contained cuts to public spending and social programs.
Right.
Which likely fueled the anger against it.
Yeah.
But this budget wasn't just numbers, was it? It seems to have become a flashpoint for deeper tensions brewing in French politics.
Exactly. Remember, France held snap elections earlier this summer.
Yeah.
Which resulted in no single party holding a majority in parliament.
Right.
This led to a fragile coalition government, and Barnier's attempt to push through his budget without a vote further exacerbated those existing tensions.
So this no-confidence vote wasn't just a rejection of one budget, but a symptom of a much larger issue of political instability within France.
Precisely.
Right.
This vote exposed the deep divisions and lack of consensus within the French political system.
Okay, so Barnier is out.
Right.
What happens next?
He's expected to resign, but will likely stay on as a caretaker until President Macron can choose a successor.
Nope.
However, no new elections can be held until July, leaving France in a political limbo for at least 6 months.
Right.
And this is where the timing of President-elect Trump's visit becomes particularly intriguing, wouldn't you say?
It's certainly a curveball.
Yeah.
Macron is trying to project stability on the world stage.
Yeah.
And now he has to welcome the U.S. president-elect amidst this political chaos.
Absolutely. The optics of this are quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Imagine Macron has to scramble to find a new prime minister, all while preparing to host one of the most powerful and unpredictable world leaders.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
It makes you wonder what's going through Macron's mind right now.
Yeah.
This isn't exactly the image of a united and decisive France he wants to project.
It certainly adds a layer of complexity to an already sensitive visit.
Right.
Remember, this isn't just a courtesy call. Trump's stance on NATO and his America First rhetoric have created some anxieties among European leaders, and France is a key player in the EU. This political upheaval could weaken Macron's hand in those discussions.
And what about the implications for France's relationships with other European countries? Could this instability further embolden far-right movements we're seeing across the continent?
That's a key question.
Yeah.
The article touches upon how the rise of populism and Euroscepticism has been a growing trend in several European countries. If France, a founding member of the EU, appears to be faltering, it could have a ripple effect.
Right.
Other countries grappling with similar challenges might see this as a sign that the established order is vulnerable.
This instability isn't just a French issue then.
Right.
It ties into a wider trend across Europe.
Yeah.
And potentially even globally.
Exactly. The political landscape is shifting.
Yeah.
The old certainties are breaking down, and we're seeing a rise in both left and right-wing populism, fueled by economic anxieties and a sense that traditional political systems aren't delivering.
Yeah.
France is just one example of this playing out in real time.
Speaking of individuals caught in this political whirlwind, let's talk about Michel Barnier for a moment.
Okay.
His career has been quite remarkable. He served in various ministerial roles, navigated the complexities of Brexit, and was seen as a safe and experienced pair of hands.
And yet, as the BBC article points out, his approach to domestic politics, especially his decision to bypass Parliament on the budget, ultimately proved to be his undoing. It seems that his more technocratic and top-down approach, which may have worked in international negotiations, wasn't well suited to the more nuanced and consensus-driven world of French politics.
That raises an interesting question.
Yeah.
What does this mean for Barnier's political future? Is this a fatal blow?
Yeah.
Or could he potentially stage a comeback?
It's too early to say for sure.
Okay.
While this is a significant setback, he's a resilient figure with a long history of service. It wouldn't be surprising to see him reemerge in some capacity down the line.
Okay.
Perhaps in a role that leverages his international experience.
On the other hand, this could be seen as a sign that his style of politics is out of touch with the current mood in France.
That's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
And it highlights the challenge for Macron as he searches for a replacement.
Okay.
He needs someone who can not only navigate the complexities of a fragmented parliament, but also connect with the French people and project an image of stability and unity both domestically and on the world stage.
So what kind of candidate would be best suited for this task? What qualities should Macron be looking for in a new prime minister? It's a tall order, to say the least, and with Trump's visit looming, the clock is ticking.
Indeed, Macron needs to move swiftly, but he also needs to choose wisely. A misstep at this juncture could further destabilize the situation and weaken his own position.
This BBC article doesn't speculate on potential successors, but I'm curious. What kind of strategy do you think Macron might employ? Will he try to appease the opposition by choosing someone more ideologically aligned with them, or will he double down and appoint someone who reinforces his own agenda?
That's a fascinating question, and it really gets to the heart of the challenges facing Macron. If he chooses the former, he risks alienating his own base and appearing weak. But if he chooses the latter, he could further inflame tensions within Parliament and make it even more difficult to govern.
It's a delicate balancing act. He needs to find someone who can bridge the divide and build consensus, which, as we've seen, is no easy feat in the current political climate.
Precisely. And it's worth noting that this situation in France, while dramatic, is not unique. We're seeing similar political dynamics play out across Europe and indeed around the world. The rise of populism, the fragmentation of traditional political parties, and the erosion of trust in institutions are all contributing to a sense of instability and uncertainty.
So if we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, what does this French political crisis tell us about the state of democracy in the 21st century?
It's a sobering reminder that democracy is not a static system. It's an ongoing process that requires constant vigilance and adaptation. The challenges facing France, the economic anxieties, the social divisions, the erosion of trust are challenges that many democracies are grappling with. And finding solutions will require new thinking, new approaches, and perhaps even new models of governance.
It's a lot to ponder. But one thing is clear. This collapse of the French government isn't just a French issue. It's a symptom of larger forces at play, forces that are reshaping the political landscape both within nations and on the global stage.
Absolutely. And it underscores the importance of staying informed, engaging in thoughtful dialogue, and being willing to challenge our own assumptions about how the world works. Because the old rules no longer apply, and the future is very much up for grabs.
So to our listener, we leave you with this thought. What does this French political earthquake mean for you? How do you see these global trends playing out in your own life, in your community, in your country? We encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep engaging with the world around you. Because the more we understand these complex forces, the better equipped we'll be to navigate them and shape the future we want to see.